Somebody give me a quick description of, yes?
The production of the workers, what you're putting out in comparison.
In a certain amount of time. So like an hour, how much you can make with an hour of labor. That's productivity. Americans are some of the most productive workers on the face of the earth and have been for a very long time. So productivity in this country has gone up, and it's gone up for a lot of reasons. Since World War II, jet engines, plastics, computers, digital technology. I hate to say it, the leash has changed everything. We're productive 24 hours a day, whether we want to be or not. So we're highly productive people. But something happened in the late 60s, early 70s. This yellow line is hourly compensation. And it pretty much tracked our productivity up until the end of the 60s, and then it flattened out. So now productivity is 254%, but hourly compensation only increased by 113%. We're creating wealth, but we're no longer sharing in it. And there's a reason for why that happened. What happened in the 60s and 70s? So this red line is middle class share of aggregate income. And watch what happens when you see what union density. This is union membership rate. You see as the union membership rate falls, so does the average worker's pay. And why is that? Because when we get to bargain with our employers, we're able to raise wages not just for ourselves, but for the people in our community, because those employers have to compete. And that people want to work for a union employer because they get paid more money. Consequently, when there are fewer union members, they can bring the wages down. The past was not perfect. I love this slide. This is sort of the Donna Reed Father Knows Best slide, and this is how everybody fondly remembers the 50s and early 60s. Baloney. So who's not in that picture? People of color, women worked at home. They did not have jobs. So although everybody's aggregate income raised in that period, women and people of color really did not share in that. There are other mass movements that pushed for policy improvements. The civil rights movement had a huge impact, a good, huge impact on this country. The women's movement, the farm workers, LGBT, all of them made a difference in this country, and yet we're still not in the place we need to be. So what's happening? Well, there's a corporate agenda. It's not magic. It didn't just happen. The corporate people and the ultra-rich, and I mean the top 10%, the people who have millions and billions of dollars, they have an agenda. Go back, because you're going a little bit too fast. So the economy of the 1% that does not work, what is the first thing they do? They attack unions in the workplace. And how do they do it? Right to work for less laws. I mean, look, what's a 25th state has now gone right to work in this country? Look at the attacks on public sector workers. I mean, it's incredible. And they also have paycheck deception laws, so it's harder for union members to get their dues paid out of their paycheck. They make it very hard to belong to a union. They make it harder to organize a union. What happens when they do that? Well, they cut wages and benefits for workers. If fewer workers are organized, then it's easier to drop the wages and benefits, but they also, specifically in the building trades, they push back very hard on prevailing wage and project labor agreements. Much easier for them to cut the wages and benefits at work. What else do? They raise pay for executives. Leo Gerard from the Steelworkers gave me this great stat. From 1979 to 2010, executive compensation in this country rose over 725%. Like that, right? Same period of time, 1979 to 2010, average workers' rates rose slightly under 6%. So we're creating wealth, but we're not sharing in it.
You said 720%.
725. It's more than that, a little over that. What else do? They get tax breaks and loopholes. So who in this room thinks if anyone passes a tax break that it's going to land on their IRS form? Anybody? Anybody getting a tax break in this room? I thought not. It usually goes to corporations, to the ultra-rich, and what happens is the tax base for your community gets squeezed and compressed. You pay an unfair share of taxes, and you cannot support your community, even though you may feel that your taxes are too high. So you ask yourself, why are our schools crumbling? Why is our infrastructure leaking and crumbling? Why do we have school buildings falling apart? Why do we not have good parks and libraries? We could have them, but the people who should be contributing in the tax base are not. What else happens? Outsourcing jobs. Anybody here work in an industry that's had seen outsourcing hit them? Well, probably everybody in the room. I work as an actor, and you'd think that nobody could outsource my work, right? Lord of the Rings was shot in New Zealand. Why? Because they pushed the New Zealand Actors Guild aside, threatened them, kept the shows non-union, and said, he built that beautiful facility in New Zealand. He said, if you pass labor laws that are helpful to these unions, we will pick up stakes and leave New Zealand as an industry. So he threatened them into keeping this work non-union. They do kids' toy commercials in Ireland because they have very bad labor laws for children. They do commercials in South Africa because the South African, unions for actors, very, very thin. So everybody has dealt with outsourcing. And they do it because they can chase the lowest wages, the least amount of protections, both for the worker and for the environment. And specifically, and very important right now, they push for these trade policies where they can go around the globe finding the cheapest place to make their goods, go in and out of the United States without any problem at all. What else do they do? Privatized services, private schools, private jails and detention center, private trash hauling, all kinds of office and clerical work is privatized. These are things that government should, these are services the government should supply for citizens. It's why we pay taxes. And if any of you live in an area where they privatize services, once they privatize the service, did your taxes go down?
No.
Did the services improve?
No.
So what happened? Oh, people made money off it. Yeah, that's the only reason they do it. All these people, the hedge fund people who are behind charter schools, is it because they love to educate children? No, they want to break teachers' unions. Deregulation. This has been going on for a very, very long time. And what they do is they get rid of all the laws that are barriers to them increasing their wealth, and the few laws that are left, they pay the fine. They don't care. Okay, it'll cost, it's figured into the business plan. We'll pay the fine. Or we'll just ignore it. Chase me. Bring me up. Get somebody else, sue me to make me do this. And the last one is really, really important. They keep unemployment high. Why would they keep unemployment high?
Keeps people down, no money to make a choice.
Yeah, you're too afraid. If there's only a couple of jobs, and you've got one of them, you're not going to vote for a union, are you?
Or even if you don't even have money to go out to some kind of, protest or job interview or, God only knows what.
Yeah, people are afraid. People are very afraid. And even though unemployment in this country has re-regulated a little bit, a lot of the work that people are getting, it's not the work they want. So who's behind this? Somebody tell me what ALEC means. Anybody know what ALEC stands for?
I think it's what, American Legislative
Exchange.
Exchange.
Right. And what's ACE? Anybody know? It's its little brother. It's the American City County Exchange. So these are organizations that are deeply funded by highly conservative groups, including the Koch brothers, and they turn out cookie cutter legislation. So you're an idiot legislator in the state. You don't have to write the law yourself. You open up their playbook and there it is. That's what Scott Walker did in Wisconsin. He openly admits it. The fight against prevailing wage in refurbishing schools in Nevada, straight out of ALEC's playbook and funded by the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers are billionaires, and they have a deeply conservative anti-worker program that they are pushing. They have vowed to spend, I think, $970 million in the 2016 election.
That's right.
These are very, very, very deep pockets.
And you do it very deviously too. They're going to smaller towns, smaller districts where people don't even have an idea what's going on.
These are smart people. They care about who gets elected to the city council. They care about who gets elected to the school board. We should care about those things, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. You can't just focus on who's in Washington. You got to start at your local level and go all the way up. That's what they're doing, and that's the only way you can really fight these people. The United States of Walmart. There are 6 members of the Walton family, and they have as much wealth as 42% of Americans. 6 people. They're the largest employer in this country, almost 1.5 million employees, and the average Walmart wage, I haven't adjusted for their raise yet, was $8.80 an hour. If they own as much wealth as 42% of Americans, they could afford to give everybody a living wage. I don't want to put Walmart out of work. That's fine. Have a business. Pay your workers. When I've done this in the South, a lot of people in the South say, hey, there's no other store. I can't go shopping anywhere else, and I can't afford to. That's fine. Just pay them a living wage. So let's take a little break here and do something interactive. I need 10 volunteers, and I think it'll be the back row of the table. And I need the people who are sitting against the wall to come over here a little bit. And I want the people at the back row, just make sure that there are 10 chairs across the back. And I'm not gonna do anything embarrassing. None of this will be painful, but we want to demonstrate the concept of wealth in this country. So, can somebody tell me what the difference between wealth and income is?
Income is, I think income is what you're working. No. Wealth is having your, wealth is having your investments.
It's everything you have. Yeah. So wealth is your house, your car, your 401k, your diamond jewelry, all that stuff that we have. And income is what you're paid. And we know that there's a tremendous amount of income inequality in this country. We've talked about it a lot. The wealth inequality in this country is